All right, so this is a puzzle, and as fun as puzzles are, we want to make sure we get them right, though, on test day. And what they're telling us here is that K, L, and M, and all these lines are intersecting at a certain point. And they're telling us that X plus Y equals U plus W. Which of the following must be true? Like no doubter every single time. Now, let's start with some things that we already know about these types of, vertical angles, and that is vertical angles are the same. Now, what are vertical angles? X and T are across from each other, so that must mean that they are actually going to be the same angle. They're going to be congruent. We also know that W is congruent with X because they're vertical angles, and then Y and U, they are automatically there. So I'm not going to write all of that out. We're just going to let these colors guide us. But what they're also telling us is that X plus Y is the same as W plus U. And that gives us a lot of information because we know that Y and U are already congruent. So what we see is that even though X is congruent to T, because they're naturally vertical lines, X is also congruent to W. So we can now write that down. X is congruent to W. Now, because X and T are the same, are also congruent, that must mean that T and W are also the same, right? And then we can keep going down the line here. Since W is the same thing as X and W is also the same thing as Z, we can say that X has to also be Z. And now we have all of that down, and we can look at our expressions here and see which one lines up. Well, let's see, is Z this, let's start, X is equal to Z. We actually have that down already, so we know that's correct. Y is equal to W. That's actually not going to be the case all the time. It could, depending on what these angles are, but because we know that Y is equal to U, X is actually equal to W, and those have to be congruent no matter what. And unless there's a coincidence that they happen to be the same angle, which could happen, it's not always going to be the case. So that eliminates 2 as an option. And then there's the interesting Z equaling T. Does this have to equal that? And in this case, it has to, because we see that let's just say that this is 150. Then this also has to be 150. And because this is a straight line and the whole thing has to be 180, that means that we're only left with 30 degrees here. And then that means that this would also be 30 degrees here, right? Because they're going to have the same difference. Essentially, these two are going to have the same difference compared to what these take out of 180. So then that leaves us with 3 being correct. Kind of a fun question when you know what's going on. On test day, I actually skipped this myself and went back to it because I knew I needed to give it a second look.